Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? How are we doing on this fine Sunday? It's a good day for football. Real quick, the Chiefs won, so we're back in the W column, so that's good for us.
Sorry about your
Yeah.
suey
In
piggies.
other
That
news,
was tough.
Arkansas got the brakes beat off of them. I am not upset about it, though. I mean, I am, because obviously we lost, but we lost to Georgia. And in my mind, right now in college football, Georgia is the most complete all around team. I think this year will be the year that they give Bama a really good run for their money and quite possibly even beat them when that game comes around. They are elite tier football team. So it was a tough road loss for us, but we'll take it and we'll move forward. Our upcoming schedule is tough, but I think we have a really good chance of winning those games. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, we're not here to talk sports this week.
No, we're not. I suppose not. Although
Suppose not.
Arkansas looked pretty bad just as a whole.
It
I
was
mean,
not good. It was
Georgia looked good, but Arkansas looked bad.
we had a lot of miscues. We definitely shot ourselves in the foot. There was a lot of nerves going into a big stadium like that. But we'll take it. We'll learn from it. The coaching staff will do what they need to do, and we'll be good moving forward. I have good. I got a good feeling about us this year. So we'll see.
There's the win in every loss.
There's a silver lining somewhere. um. Anyway.
And I'm wearing my Feel Good shirt today. Shout out Feel Good.
Heck yeah! Dang, if I would have
Buy
known, I
their
would have gone and
merch.
put mine on.
Yeah, buy their merch. Feel Good. Find them on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Feel Good Band.
Feel good
Omaha,
band
Nebraska.
any on Instagram.
All
I
their
believe
merch is pretty dope.
it really is.
I like their music a lot, but I kind of like I don't like their merch better. I like their merch as much as I do their music.
There
I'll
you
put
go.
it that way.
That's a good way to put that. All right, so this week we got a couple of hot topics.
Hot boy, they're hot.
They are hot. So we're just not. I'm not gonna really do any introduction. We're just gonna jump right into it on this first one. So this first one is it's a lawyer by the name of Stephen Donziger. He was found guilty of withholding evidence in the Chevron case. So, for those of you that don't know, this Chevron case has been going on for a decade now. And it is based on the fact that Chevron has polluted the air and environment in the Amazon where they're having oil drilling operations. And they were originally slated to pay the people affected in that area that they're drilling. This is coming from a 2011 judgment in Ecuador. So the Ecuadorian court ruled this in 2011 that Chevron was ordered to pay $9.5 billion dollars in damages to people represented by this lawyer because they have for decades polluted the air and water around
I want to
that
clear
area.
up two things real quick, and then
Sure.
I'm going to let you continue on all the details. So he's a human rights activist lawyer, right? Representing the people of Ecuador. The case was held in Ecuador. And the main thing that Chevron was doing, from what I understand, it might be water and air, but it was more like the soil. Like
Yeah.
the deposits from the oil were polluting and giving Ecuadorians cancer. So Stephen Donziger stepped in and basically represented the people of Ecuador as a human rights activist lawyer and ended up winning them a huge settlement against Chevron, which really pissed off Chevron.
Chevron
So
is
I'll let you
very
continue.
Chevron's very pissed about that, and I think to date they still have not paid that money out, according to
Well,
this article.
They're still paying reparations
Yeah,
to
so
the
there's
Ecuador people.
they're still working on it. Obviously, they're not going to take a $9.5 billion hit all at once, so they're working on paying it out.
Yeah, because Chevron couldn't afford $9 billion all at once. It's not like they're a multi-billion-dollar oil company.
Right.
Like they couldn't just afford to pay it all out at once. You know?
Right. So,
Anyway.
in losing that case, and this is where it gets kind of crazy, Chevron accused Don Zeiger of bribing the judge in Ecuador and ghostwriting the final verdict, which is an accusation that he is strenuously denying. Like he's been denying that for forever. And to me, it just seems bonkers that like you're literally giving the people cancer. Why does like you can see it? Why do you need to bribe a judge to make that verdict? So we fast forward 5 years from 2011 to 2016. A U.S. judge by the name of Lewis Kaplan found that Don Zeiger was involved in racketeering activity, and that because he was involved in that, Chevron was granted seizure of the lawyer's laptop and phone. Don Zeiger appealed against it, but he was hit with contempt charges because of his appeal to that and placed under house arrest in New York. So he's been under house arrest in New York for like 2 years.
For how long, Ben?
Well,
2 years?
this article was like 2 years, yeah,
Over 2 years.
over 2 years on
He
house
spent
arrest.
he spent two birthdays in his
Yeah,
Manhattan or Massachusetts,
no,
Manhattan
it was in
apartment.
Manhattan. He was in New York. Yep.
Yeah, two birthdays in his Manhattan apartment for contempt of court, which is a misdemeanor charge. Which, by the way, the most anyone has ever been sentenced to any sort of sentence under charges such as this is 90 days. 90 days. And he's spent 2 years under house arrest awaiting trial.
Yep.
So continue.
So then we fast forward to very recent. This article is as of the 26th of July of this year. A U.S. district judge by the name of Loretta Preska ruled that Don Zeiger was guilty of 6 contempt charges that were brought against him for refusing to hand over evidence in a complex legal wrangle that because he was pitted directly against Chevron. That verdict carries a 6-month jail penalty, which obviously he again is going to freaking appeal because he's like, what? No, I'm literally just trying to help these people.
And he just got sentenced this past week. So his actual jail time he just got sentenced his time this past week. He was found guilty back in July. And Thursday of this past week, I believe, they were asking for time served because he's been under house arrest for 2 years.
Yeah, so he shouldn't have to go to jail anyway because he's been under house arrest for 2 years.
Oh, but is he going to jail, Ben?
Oh,
Is he
100%.
going to the federal penitentiary for a misdemeanor of contempt of court?
Yes. So the judge, Preska, wrote a 245-page judgment that stated this, and I'm going to read this straight out of the article. That stated that Don Zeiger repeatedly and willfully defied court orders. At stake here is the fundamental principle that a party to legal action must abide by court orders or risk criminal sanctions. She added that it's time to pay the piper, and Don Zeiger is now facing 6 months in jail. The lawyer called the ruling a sad day for the rule of law, for our democracy, and for our planet, and obviously he's going to appeal. He's as a human rights activist lawyer, he's gained a lot of support through this whole thing by environmental activists and celebrities such as Alec Baldwin and Pink, and the Pink Floyd singer Roger Waters, who insists this man has literally just been persecuted by Chevron and the government. So yeah, but also another thing that's super weird about this, Chevron hired a private law firm, or has a private law firm that's previously done work for them, and they were hired again to prosecute Don Zeiger after the federal government declined to take up the case. And let me see, and I think that's for this recent, or the whole case, the case as a whole that's now spanned a decade. Preska also ruled in her judgment that she is explicitly denying that the lawyer has been a victim of a conspiracy. Contrary to Mr. Don Zeiger's assertion that his conviction was preordained, the court finds him guilty on each count for one reason only. Mr. Don Zeiger did that which he is charged, period. So the court found him guilty of 6 counts of contempt of court, which basically, given the fact that he's, facing up to 6 months in jail, is basically a month for each fucking count that they charged him with. Meanwhile, this dude's literally just trying to help out the people of Ecuador and get reparations paid by Chevron for polluting the land and giving these people cancer, and Chevron's just fighting him on it because they're a giant corporation that does want to pay all this money out to these people. They're just, for what it looks like for me, they are just mad that they got caught.
It's clear retaliation.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things here. I don't know. I don't want to keep interrupting you.
No, you're good. Go
I
ahead.
have more to read.
I pretty much covered the whole article.
So not only do you have lead popular figures in the United States, speaking out for his acquittal. But you also have the United Nations as a whole. And I might butcher this. I should say, if you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, The Rising, Crystal Ball, and Sagar. It's called The Rising. It's a podcast. It's the one where he's a Republican, she's a Democrat. It's called The Rising. Crystal Kyle and Friends is another one. Kyle Kalinske. They had him on, and he really goes pretty in depth to like how fucked this all is. So not only do you have all these United States political, or not even political, high caliber celebrities calling for his
acquittal, high profile,
you have the United Nations stepping in to a United States court decision and stepping in and saying this is clear retaliation and this isn't true justice. Where the United Nations looks at the United States court system as like the gold standard for how the judicial system is supposed to work. So you never hear shit from the United Nations when it comes to a court case falling one way or the other in the United States. They never say shit because, again, we're like the gold standard.
Right.
And you have the United Nations, you have lawyers in the United Nations stepping up and saying, what in the fuck is going on over there, y'all? Like, how is this justice? Like, this is just fucking bananas.
Right.
It's like a kangaroo court, dude. It's fucking wild. And all because Chevron is pissed because they're paying out to the tune of billions of dollars to Ecuador, which they don't want because they fuck the people of Ecuador by polluting their soil and their water and their air. I hadn't heard air, but whatever. And now they're pissed. And the judge, by the way, was handpicked by what was the other judge's name?
Well, the two judges in this article were Loretta Preska, and the other one was
Lewis Kaplan.
Lewis Kaplan, yep.
So Lewis Kaplan initially found him guilty, and then the judge who sentenced him today was Loretta Preska. You know who Loretta Preska used to work for? Big tobacco industry on cases of lung cancer on smokers, basically. You know, all those hand-picked high-profile lawyers who worked for high-profile tobacco companies. And then, by the way, flashback to circa 2008, 2009, those same ones stepped in and represented all the hedge funders and all the fucking mortgage lenders, represented all the big banks in the huge crash of 2008 and 2009, the mortgage crisis. Just a coincidence, right? That you had these shiesty fuckers who said, no, it wasn't tobacco that gave them cancer. It wasn't the cigarettes. It was their lifestyle that gave them cancer. So you can't sue Marlboro for, John Smith getting cancer because he smoked a pack a day and we told him cigarettes were fine. And then turn around 2008, 2009, they come in and say, well, you can't blame the mortgage lenders for writing shiesty loans to these people with low credit, knowing that they weren't going to be able to pay back their loan, henceforth creating the entire stock market and economy crash, housing market failure, 2008 and 2009. Now you have that same judge who's worked for these companies all the way, representing a case against fucking Steven Donziger against Chevron. Like, what in the motherfuck is going on?
Yeah, like I mean, wake up.
Nobody see this?
Yeah, this is so like.
If you were watching a movie and it was folding out like this, you'd be like, nah, not believable.
Yeah, like no way. You'd look at that. You'd look at that and go, well, the judge is obviously on the books. Like no wonder the dude is literally out here outcrying, going, I'm part of a friggin' conspiracy. Like, it's the big man against me, and I'm with him. Like, the big dude is out here turning the tables in their favor because they didn't like Ecuador's ruling. Because they're mad. Like, hello.
And let's play in a world where Steven Donziger did withhold evidence, right? I'm not saying he's guilty or not guilty.
Right.
That's not the argument to make. honestly don't know shit about whether he's guilty or not guilty, whether he withheld evidence. He doesn't feel like he did. But sure, let's say, you know what, Steven Donziger, you were wrong. You should be charged with a misdemeanor crime of contempt of court for withholding evidence. The maximum penalty is not the most anyone ever has been sentenced is 90 days. 90 days. And this man spent 2 years on house arrest and is now sentenced to 6 months in federal fucking prison. He's going to lose damn near 3 years of his life because Chevron is pissed because he got them. You want to talk about paying the piper?
Yeah.
Like, Chevron is the one that should say, oh, fuck, we killed a whole bunch of people in Ecuador because we really didn't give a shit whether or not we were polluting their land or their soil or their air or their water. Whatever, pennies on the dollar. We don't really give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
like,
and now we got caught. Oh, shit, now we have to pay out all this money. And instead of saying, fuck, we were wrong and let's change our practices, they say, who's the fucker that ousted us? Go find him. Go find him and penalize that motherfucker as hard as you can. That's exactly what's happening. Collusion upon collusion upon collusion mixed with retaliation. And now Steven Donziger is going to lose damn near 3 years of his life because it was a little more than 2 years of house arrest. It was like 2 years, 2 months.
Yeah, he was
because
like,
he had spent 2 birthdays in house arrest. Like, god damn, dude.
like no wonder the United Nations stepped in and was like, what?
Have you heard from Kamala Harris about any of this?
Of course not.
The district attorney who really stood for justice and, you know, equality for everyone and down with big business and up with the little guy. And we're here to fight for the little guy. Have you heard from Joe Biden about this?
No.
Could Joe Biden step in and say, hey, no, this is bullshit. We're going to go ahead and give Donziger a pardon and get him out of jail. And he's done. Could he do that? Yeah, absolutely. But where the fuck is he?
Probably sitting in his freaking office somewhere counting all the cash that Chevron decided they wanted to give him so they just wouldn't intervene themselves.
It's fucking bananas, dude. It's bananas.
It's like so crazy. Like how this is the world we're living in now. And I've said this multiple times before. Like we inch closer every day to living in a world where, you know, those movies from the 80s and the 70s and 80s and stuff, those futuristic movies that put, you know, the year is 2021 and the world is run by big corporations, blah, blah, blah. Like we're moving closer to that. Where it's just going to be like, yeah, we'll have a government, but like it's a sham because big corporations run the world.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Where do you even want to start with that? Like,
I know it's just like, and
that's a 4-hour podcast just within itself. Like,
I know, right?
I don't even want to go down that fucking rabbit hole.
But like, it's just mind-boggling that like we're the ones sitting over here like, ayo, can y'all not see this? And the rest of the world's just like, I don't know, man. COVID's pretty bad. Like, what the?
No, and Ham's right. House arrest is a lot different from federal prison. I'll give you that. But again, the max penalty that anyone has ever been given for this specific crime is 90 days in jail. 90 days. And this man sat for 2 fucking years on house arrest. Can't go anywhere. Can't do anything. Can't see his kids graduate. Can't see his kids play football. Can't do nothing. Again, I'm not saying if he's guilty or not guilty, whatever. Yeah. But the moral of the story, like, again, it doesn't take a whole lot to get from point A to point B and say, nah, it's pretty much because Chevron's pissed. And Chevron is a $1 billion corporation that was pissed because they got ousted by this guy. And so, again, instead of looking in the mirror and saying, oh, shit, maybe we should change our practices and care about Ecuadorians or everybody, people as a whole.
Yeah, people in general.
Let's find that fucker who went after us and let's go really throw the book at him as hard as we can and handpick a judge who used to work for us as an attorney to give him his sentencing. Like, how is that justice, dude? Like,
It's not. It's like there's 0% justice going on. So like, yeah, maybe. So we'll just entertain this. So yeah, maybe he did withhold evidence. Okay,
So
so he did. He did do that. That's a contempt. Like I think what's that? Contempt of court.
contempt of court,
Yeah.
correct.
So
That was the official title behind his misdemeanor was contempt of court.
contempt of court. Right. Again, 90 days.
That's the most people get like what's the word I'm looking for? Where you can't do anything wrong or else you're gonna go to jail.
Parole.
Parole, yes. Like some sort of parole. Maybe you get 30 days, 60 days, 90 days in jail, whatever the case. And that's in jail. That's not in the federal fucking penitentiary.
Yeah, you're just at the
Like
courthouse
they are
jail
sending
chilling.
this guy to the pen
Yeah.
with the heinous.
Yeah,
of
they've
them
they've literally
heinous.
they're like, here you go. You've done basically at this point it's like kind of like a white collar crime, but we're gonna stick you in a federal pen, which there's varying degrees, like levels
Correct.
of federal penitentiary, and I don't know which one they're sending him to. Um,
Why are they
so
sending him at all?
that yeah, that's the thing. That's the main thing. Is like, why is he getting sent to the federal penitentiary at all? So I mean, I hope to God they're not sending him to like a fucking supermax where they hold like mass murderers and shit, because there's
Doubt.
absolutely
I
no
don't
reason
know.
for him to go there. So they're gonna send him to a federal penitentiary. It's probably like a minimum security like federal pen for other white collar criminals. But at the end of the day, the dude doesn't deserve to go to um a federal penitentiary like at all. Ham says she's surprised there isn't a conversation of whistleblower protection. It's also true. Well, okay, so I don't know if that would count as whistleblower because he wasn't that. Those protections normally are for people that work within the company and then see something going wrong and go, "Hey, I'm gonna blow the whistle."
That's not a whistleblower. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so he was just an outside source as a lawyer, um, a human rights activist lawyer that was like, "This is wrong," and Chevron is polluting and killing and giving people in Ecuador cancer. And the Ecuadorian government was like, "Hey, yeah, you're right. Pay us some money, like pay us money, because you fucked us." And Chevron is basically like, how about no? How about we don't do that, and we try and find every reason." No, Ham, you're fine. And try and find every reason under the sun to discredit you and get this case thrown out, so that we don't have to pay any money. Insane.
It's
Just
fucking bananas, dude.
absolutely insane. I don't get it. I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why, because at the end of the day, the almighty dollar is the only thing that matters to these people, and that's the only thing that they freaking chase and follow and worship. And
It's
because of that, justice and fair proceedings and that kind of stuff just fucking goes out the window.
and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, and it's just swept under the rug. Like this is on this article came from was it The Guardian? Yeah, The
Yeah.
Guardian, which is a pretty
I
well
mean,
known like
well,
uh
the Guardian is right leaning. I'm looking at one on New Republic. Excuse
bless you.
me. NewRepublic.com. But it's not. I mean, you can even find some CNN or Fox News articles, talking about it. But
It's not pushed.
like,
It's just kind of like buried or like a quick blip, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, that sucks for that guy," and we just move on.
let's talk about a world where this is a black attorney going after some civil rights movement for African American culture or Latino or Asian, what have you,
Just a
right?
minority.
And you end up pissing off $1 billion company that is just say equal to an oil company. And then that activist rights lawyer ends up going to jail because some sort of, loophole or some sort of, wrongdoing along the way. Again, let's just say he's wrong, right? Let's just say he deserved to be found guilty. And this was happening. There would be fucking riots in the streets.
Yep.
Deservedly so.
No, for sure.
Deservedly so. That it should be. People should be. I am pissed about this. That a man who fought for the rights of Ecuadorians who were being killed and getting cancer from something that an American-based company like Chevron did, and now is being persecuted for it just because he called out the wrongdoings of a major company. Like, that is fucked up, dude. Like,
Super
that
fucked.
is incredibly fucked up. That is so unjust. Like, that should keep you up at night. Like, what if that was you who called out the wrongdoings of some big figurehead and said, hey, dude, that's fucked up. You shouldn't be doing this anymore. And then you were right. And they said, court of law, yeah, that guy was wrong. Those fuckheads shouldn't be persecuting these people that are less than them. And then they turn around on you and put your ass in jail. Talk about like the most helpless fucking feeling in the world.
Oh yeah,
dude.
yeah.
You gotta just feel. And by the way, they have bankrupted this guy in legal fees along the way. He can't work. He's stuck at home for 2 years. So where's your income?
Right.
Like, it's more than just sitting at home, like, and being bored or whatever. You can't work. You're without an income for 2 years. You're a lawyer. Who are you representing while you're sitting at home?
Like
the answer's nobody.
Yeah, like the best you could do is like consultations, maybe. I don't even know if they'd let him to do that.
And then on top of that, you're fighting the fucking lawyers at Chevron.
Yeah.
You want to talk about millions of dollars in court fees and lawyer fees? Like, you can't just pull any Joe Schmo district attorney off the street, or not district attorney, district defense attorney off the street and say, hey, I need some help here. I'm fighting fucking Chevron. They're going to be like, yeah, dude, good luck. Like, miss me on that. I don't want to lose to Chevron. Like, I see the writing on that wall. Like, who's going to pay for that?
Right.
They have destroyed this guy. Completely destroyed this guy, all because he stuck up for the little guy.
Yep. And he's not going to get anything back at the end of the day for it. Like this, they just shat on him to the point of just almost death. It's like as close as you can get without like, it's just, it's freaking bananas. It's insane. It really is. And fuck, I don't know. Like, what's the solution to that?
As fired up as I can afford to get fired up on a Sunday night about it. I don't know what the solution is other than true justice.
Yeah, like at this point,
eliminating corruption.
The only help for him is the United Nations, and maybe the United Nations can step in and be like, y'all are being stupid.
The United Nations has to step in and say this is fucked before our own goddamn president or our vice president, who used to be a fucking attorney, could step in and say, hey, y'all, like Kamala Harris would have a shining moment to gain some actual respect from me in a case like this and step in and say, wait a minute, this is fucked. I'm getting involved. I need to be involved in this. Like this presidency could gain so much respect, or not even so much, a glimmer of respect, because right now it's at 0%. But if they would actually step in and do something about this and say, this is fucked and we're getting involved because this isn't right, I would be like, oh my God, they're doing something.
Yeah.
They're doing something. Guys, look, they're fighting for the little guy. They're actually stepping in a case of misjustice and fighting against a company like Chevron and saying, no, y'all, this is fucked. We're not having this. This is the United States of America. You're supposed to have a trial of your own peers, which, by the way, I can't believe I've missed this so far. You know what the jury said about this whole case?
What did they say?
When they stood in front of the jury? There was no jury. This case never went before a jury.
Didn't have a jury. It was just the judge.
There's never a jury. He did not have a jury in front of his peers, which, by the way, he has a right. They use loopholes somewhere along the way to say this isn't a trial that has a right to be held in front of a jury.
Bro,
so
what?
This case is just going to the judge, which once again, the judge used to be an attorney that worked for the same companies that employed old tobacco attorneys and the same attorneys that fought for the big businesses in the whole housing market collapse. So it's like what the fuck
This
is
whole thing is so
happening, dude?
fucking shady,
Like,
dude.
the more the deeper you get on it, the more it's like this could happen to anyone, dude. Like anyone. And the big companies just flex their muscles, and this is the shit that happens. And nobody bothers to say shit about it. It's not going to be on the front page of the news. It's not going to be headlines at CNN. It's just going to happen.
It's just gonna happen, and everyone's just
And
gonna
we'll
move
talk
on.
about it on our podcast for a couple weeks, and then what can we do about it? You know, I mean, I can't do shit about it. I wish I could. That's why I'm sitting here. Is I hope people hear and get riled up, and it starts trending on Twitter. I don't fucking know what we can do other than elect the right people. But it's just fucking mind blowing, dude.
Yeah,
it's just mind blowing.
Crazy. What up, Trev? How you doing? Ham said that the value of human life between socioeconomic classes shouldn't differ, but it does very heavily to these multi-billion-dollar companies. No, for sure. If you don't make X amount of dollars and aren't like contributing to them, they could give a fuck about you. The only thing, and then she went on to say that, like, based when we were asking how, what's the help, what's the solution, you got community organizational efforts to financially support him, but the government's not going to offer him shit for financial stuff. So, unfortunately, this dude is getting well and truly fucked. And
I do think a case like this is where the internet and podcasts and like GoFundMe efforts and things like that can really have a positive impact, where you get on a global scale in front of everyone, or even just on a national scale, United States wise, and say, hey, this is pretty fucked up. And everyone needs to know about how fucked up this is, because this isn't black or white or male or female or, it's nothing like that. It's a pure misuse of power.
yeah,
And
abuse of power,
and pure injustice
yeah,
towards someone that was fighting for the little guys who are getting fucking cancer because of the shit that Chevron was doing. And again, in the court of law, Chevron was found guilty. So they have no leg to stand on to say like, oh, I can't believe you did this to us. Like what they were doing was fucked and was giving people in Ecuador cancer. So we should all this should be 100% issue that we can all get behind and say, hey, we need to speak up and do something about this. Like, again, get it trending on Twitter, set up a GoFundMe, something to where someone at the top has to start paying some attention and say, okay, we can't have this anymore because this is just straight bullshit. Like this cannot happen again. It shouldn't be happening now, and it can't happen again.
Yeah, no way. Fuck. In other news of a guy getting absolutely fucking railroaded, there is a lieutenant colonel for the Marine Corps by the name of Stuart Scheller. He has very recently been thrown in the brig, which is military prison for y'all that don't know.
Can we show the video that he posted on here without getting into trouble?
I think so. We'll be all right.
Are you planning on doing that?
Yeah, I think because they're in this article, so I was gonna play them.
I watched it before. I was just kind of getting like mentally prepped for this, and I watched it, and I was just getting more fired up just listening to him again.
So the story with Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller is he has been placed in the brig at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, the Marine Corps base there, because he stood up and spoke out about how the government and military leaders handled the withdrawal out of Afghanistan and then the subsequent drone strike that killed a shitload of innocent people. All right, so he stood up and he said, he was like, this is not right. We're not like, we can't do this. He made videos about it and posted them. When those videos came out, higher ranking officers than him, so colonels and above, were like, stop it. You can't do this. Do not make these videos, like, stop. And the thing with Lieutenant Colonel Scheller is he knew that when he put this out, it was going to be the end of his career. He's 3 years away from retirement, and once he did that, he offered to tender his resign his commission as an officer and get honorably discharged, and they said no, and then turned around and immediately arrested him and chucked him in the brig. So at this point now we have 36 Congress members have signed a letter requesting Lieutenant Colonel Scheller's release. Louis Gomer is spearheading this. And he wrote the letter. And this is just a couple snippets out of it. He said, given his excellent record of more than 15 years of dedicated service, we do not believe and have seen no evidence that Lieutenant Colonel Scheller poses a grave risk of criminal misconduct. For the aforementioned reasons, we request that Lieutenant Scheller be released from pretrial confinement and be housed in the least restrictive form of housing. So where he's being held right now, in the brig at Camp Lejeune, is where they hold suspected murderers.
And do you know what they arrested him on? What charges they arrested him on?
I feel like it was in here, but go ahead and tell him.
None. There was no charges. They said we're pulling him in until we can decide if we want to charge him with something.
Yeah.
So you're gonna arrest someone and pull him into the brig with no fucking charges?
Well, because right here it says that, military law, the Scheller's commander is required to justify his imprisonment within 72 hours. And they sent the congressmen and the 36 that signed this letter sent it to the Marine Corps commandant, which is the top dog for the Marine Corps, the guy that is in charge of the Marine Corps. And I think they have yet to say anything. He was arrested and thrown in the brig on Monday. We are at Sunday.
And I should say this was on Thursday that I was reading about all this, and they had yet to charge him with anything.
Right.
They had basically said, well, we're going to arrest him and then figure out if we want to charge him with something.
So it says here, he was scheduled to have his first court appearance on Thursday, but, the public media and lawmakers were not allowed to attend, but then they just postponed the hearing till this coming week. Marines and the Defense Council for Lieutenant Colonel Scheller agreed to the postponement. Let me refresh this because the video is not loading. Let's see if it'll load up here. Let me see. So he did have an initial hearing, but it was over very quickly, and he didn't even have a chance to enter the courtroom. But that's standard for initial review hearings. So they just had a hearing to initially look at like what was going on and that kind of stuff. There are some people, Derek Miller, who's the executive director of Nonpartisan Justice of the Nonpartisan Justice Warriors Caucus. He says there's nothing that prohibits people from being admitted to this court procedure. He said the fact that they're trying to do this behind closed doors should be concerning to every American. So the initial review behind closed doors is normal. The rest of what's happening, very concerning, that they are just trying to get this done and over with and swept under the rug.
Well, and even if this is a military practice where we can just arrest someone and then figure out if we want to charge them with something later on, like, why the fuck is that a policy? Like, how is that? Where is innocent until proven guilty found anywhere within that practice?
Yeah,
like, it feels like if anybody's seen the movie A Few Good Men, which I hope everyone in here has seen the movie A Few Good Men. If you haven't, go watch it. This feels like I'm watching A Few Good Men, but Tom Cruise doesn't. Well, I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. Just go watch the movie. And throughout the movie, you're going to be like, yeah, no, this has some Few Good Men vibes to it.
Yeah.
Like,
so there was a spot in here I wanted to read because he's being, so this is what the charges being considered for Lieutenant Colonel Scheller include contempt toward officials, willfully disobeying a superior commissioned officer, failure to obey order or regulation, and conduct unbecoming of an officer or gentleman.
So those are the charges that they've hit him with
Those are
now?
the charges that are being considered.
Okay, but they haven't verified.
They haven't verified, so
they haven't charged him with anything. But he's still spent almost a week now behind bars in the brigs with murders because he posted. I feel like this is a really good time to post the video.
Yeah, so
he got arrested for.
I'm gonna let's see. It's probably this one right here. I'm gonna pull it up and.
You're Gail. You're about to see the video that he got arrested for.
So here's this freaking come here. There we go. You do this and grab this.
Evening. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Stu Scheller, United States Marine Corps. I'm the current battalion commander for Advanced Infantry Training Battalion. I've been in the Marine Infantry for 17 years. Started my tour with Victor 1-8. It's the current unit that's doing perimeter security, dealing with the mess that's going on there. You can see open source reporting that there was an explosion and some people were killed. I know through my inside channels that one of those people that were killed was someone that I have a personal relationship with. Won't go into more details because the families are still being notified. Not making this video because it's potentially an emotional time. Making it because I have a growing discontent and contempt for my perceived ineptitude at the foreign policy level, and I want to specifically ask some questions to some of my senior leaders. And I'll say, as a person that's not at 20 years, I feel like I have a lot to lose. If you play chess, you can only see 2 to 3 moves out because there's too many variables. I thought through if I post this video, what might happen to me, especially if the video picks up traction, if I have the courage to post it. But I think what you believe in can only be defined by what you're willing to risk. So if I'm willing to risk my current battalion commander seat, my retirement, my family's stability, to say some of the things that I want to say, I think it gives me some moral high ground to demand the same honesty, integrity, accountability from my senior leaders. And so I want to start with, we'll just use the Marine Corps. We'll just stick with the Marine Corps. So in the current fallout of Afghanistan, a lot of Marines were posting on social media, and in response to that, the Commandant published a letter, which is the service chief of the Marine Corps. And I want to read from it. It was dated 18 August, so only a week ago. The Commandant, sir, you wrote, "Some of you may be struggling with a simple question. Was it all worth it? We want you to know that your service was meaningful, powerful, and important. You fought for the Marine to your left and the Marine to your right. You never let them down." And then you go on to say that, if we're struggling, we should seek counseling, which, I get it. People have killed people. I've killed people, and I seek counseling, and that's fine. There's a time and place for that. But the reason people are so upset on social media right now is not because the Marine on the battlefield let someone down. That service member has always rose to the occasion and done extraordinary things. People are upset because their senior leaders let them down, and none of them are raising their hands and accepting accountability or saying, we messed this up. If an 05 battalion commander has the simplest live fire incident EO complaint, boom, fired. But we have a Secretary of Defense that testified to Congress in May that the Afghan National Security Force could withstand the Taliban advance. We have chairmen of Joint Chief, who the Commandant is a member of that, who's supposed to advise on military policy. We have a Marine combatant commander. All of these people are supposed to advise, and I'm not saying we've got to be in Afghanistan forever, but I am saying, did any of you throw your rank on the table and say, hey, it's a bad idea to evacuate Bagram Airfield, the strategic air base, before we evacuate everyone? Did anyone do that? And when you didn't think to do that, did anyone raise their hand and say, we completely messed this up? I've got battalion commander friends right now that are posting similar things, and they're saying, wondering if all the lives were lost and if it was in vain, all those people that we've lost over the last 20 years. And he goes on to say that we're all part of a chain. While every link may not be tested, the strength of the chain is only as strong as each link, and you got to be, good link, something like that. And what I'll say is, and from my position, potentially all those people did die in vain if we don't have senior leaders that own up and raise their hand and say, we did not do this well in the end. Without that, we just keep repeating the same mistakes. This amalgamation of the economic / corporate / political / higher military ranks are not holding up their end of the bargain. I want to say this very strongly. I have been fighting for 17 years. I am willing to throw it all away to say to my senior leaders, I demand accountability.
So yeah, that's part of it. That's his his take on it. And I gotta say this. This is obviously my own personal opinions and does not represent the DoD or the Air Force or anything like that. But I I agree with him. I don't think he's wrong. He's standing up and saying, "Hey, we need accountability," and there hasn't been any, not much at all, anyway. Um,
The words that ring with me, he says really early, like within the first 30 seconds of the video, and it's what you believe in can only be defined by what you're willing to risk. And this man has spent 17 years, multiple deployments, killed people abroad, defending our United States of America and our civil liberties and everything that we stand for in America. And this man is so frustrated by what's happening, he's willing to post a video, and you heard him say it, and risk it all by saying, hey, this isn't the same way as in the Donziger case, where instead of someone like Chevron or the military looking themselves in the mirror and saying, how can we change this? Because there's clearly an outrage, and there's a justified outrage. And how do we change this in the future so that we avoid this outrage? It's let's find the motherfucker that outed us and go after him.
right.
So instead of changing at large and at scale in an operational standpoint, it's let's just find the idiot that outed us, that is getting people riled up, and let's go after them. And in this case, arrest this person without any charges.
Yeah. So what I'll say for this, and I don't know if he did this before he posted the video or not. I don't know if he went to senior leadership before posting this and asked them and was like, hey, why haven't y'all or anybody said anything about this? And they were just some of them looked at him and were like, bah, don't worry about it, like this is above your pay grade. So then he got frustrated and made this video.
I find it. Sorry, go ahead.
What I'll say, and I agree with the sentiment that he's put out. Now, the way he went about it, I'll say is, at least for the first video, wasn't the best way to go about it. So, per military code and military law, if you are in uniform like he was in the first one, and that kind of stuff, you are, while you're in uniform making those claims, you are representing your service. So for him to do that in uniform, the perception of that is like, this is how the Marine Corps feels, which is, according to all the senior leadership, that they're like, no, this is not our viewpoint. This is not our standpoint. Perhaps if he had done this outside of uniform and prefaced it like I preface everything what I'm saying, maybe there wouldn't have been as much, wouldn't have been this backlash on it or anything like that. So that's my only discrepancy or disagreement with what he said, is how he came out and said it in the first place. But I can see on the other side that it holds a little bit more value and punch for him that he did it as lieutenant colonel in uniform, being like, yo, this is fucked.
And that was my first thought also, like, okay, you're in uniform. Like, I know how sanctified making any sort of public statements in a uniform is to the United States government and the United States Army, Air Force, military as a whole.
Yeah.
And if we're going to hold him to that standard, which I'm frankly okay with, if he hasn't exercised any of his chain of command going up and speaking to his local officers, I don't know how the whole ranking system works. I know he's a lieutenant colonel, but if he hasn't exercised any of the chain of command to say, hey, this was fucked up, and he just hasn't gotten anywhere, and now he's making the video, okay, I understand. Anyway, so let's view General Milley in the same light then, who goes in front of the United States and says the drone strikes were, what did he say, justified or noble or effective? He said something to
I think effective was used, and then you turn around a week later.
He used another word, and I think it was noble or justified. I can't remember. I was just trying to Google search and I couldn't figure it out. A press reporter just asked him this past week if he would still say that the drone strikes were justified, or I want to say the word was noble, but I don't know that that's what it was. The drone strikes didn't kill anybody but civilians.
Yep.
We did not get any terrorists with those drone strikes. And we knew that. We knew that when he went live the first time and said the drone strikes were effective or noble or justified, whatever the word was that he used. And turn around a week later, and it's like, we know it. So here's the series of progression. Drone strike, 24 hours. Oh, we got one of the lead terrorists, lead Al-Qaeda, whatever.
Yeah, it was like group. ISIS K, I think, or some shit.
Yeah, ISIS K. We got one of the leaders. And then it was like, well, no, the public kind of knew we didn't get one of the leaders. But the military was like, no, we got him. And then they were like, well, we might not have got him. Like, no, we got him. And then it took about a week for them to be like, no, we didn't get him. That you can't tell me that the public under the surface knew that it only killed civilians and that the fucking general didn't know that we didn't get the target on the first initial drone strike. So that motherfucker went in front of the United States public and said, nope, justified. It was noble. Mission accomplished. And then turns around a week later and said, nah, I'm not going to say that it wasn't noble. I'm not going to say that it wasn't justified. I'm not going to sit here in front of you and retract my statement. All I'm going to say is at the time, I thought what I was saying was true. Like, if you want to lock somebody up, like, that motherfucker bold-faced lied to us.
Yeah, he bold-faced lied. And he's also guilty, in my eyes, of fucking... I don't know what I want to say, but like he literally was like, "Hey, yo, China, if we're gonna attack you, I'll give you a heads up." Like, what, dude? You can't fucking do that. Like, you are not allowed to look at somebody who we consider militarily and economically an enemy and go, "Hey, yo, if some shit's gonna pop off, I'll give you a heads up." Because like that's not how it works, dude. If shit's gonna pop off, you don't give the enemy a chance to fucking prepare for it. Like,
dude, that's like, the best way to do it.
Literally undermining the intelligence agencies on both sides. Because like now, if we're gonna do that, there's no point in having an intelligence agency. Because everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, yo, we're gonna launch some bombs," and the other guy's like, "All right, cool. Like, give us like 24 hours, and then you can do it." Like,
there's two things here also that I find comical about a very uncomical situation. So MAGA supporters rallied like $2 million for Scheller, the guy that's been arrested, is held in the Briggs right now without any sort of real charges brought against him. And Scheller came out and said, "I'd rather rot in jail than accept money from MAGA supporters,"
which
great. Like, I fucking think is fantastic. Like, I love that. He's like, "Oh, y'all motherfuckers think I'm like doing this because I'm a right-wing Trump supporter? Like, no, I'm a fucking patriot and I'd rather rot in jail than accept money from you guys."
Yeah.
And Trump also this week has called for General Milley to be tried for treason, which I think is hilarious as well. Like, two different sides of the aisle, like, one is saying fuck Trump, and then the Trump on the other side is like, "Oh, you got to arrest Milley for treason." Like, I don't think it's treason, Trump. Like, Jesus Christ, give us a break here.
It's not treason, but there's some type of criminal like thing that he needs to be tried with for basically like giving the enemy a heads up. Yeah, that's super fucked. I'm gonna go back and answer a question that Ham asked earlier. She wanted to know what my opinion on the actions of silencing they're taking as a service member. So I think it's fucked that they are literally just shutting him down and being like, "No, like, we asked you to not post these and you did it anyway." I can understand on their side, like, asking him to not post it because he was in uniform and that kind of stuff, because we're not allowed to do that. That's not something we're allowed to do in uniform and make statements like that. I think that Lieutenant Colonel Scheller is right in standing up for what he believes is morally right to stand up for it and ask the hard-hitting questions of leadership, like, hey, this whole situation, this whole pullout was fucked. Like, what were you thinking? Like, where in your right mind did you look at this whole situation and go, yeah, we're just gonna fucking up and leave. Like, we're gone. And with like not like no real plan by all, like, by the look of it, really. So this is all sorts of fucked. If Lieutenant Colonel Scheller gets hit with anything, it'll be though what I don't want to say what I'll accept him getting hit with, but like what I I guess what I'll accept him being hit with is like disobeying a direct order, basically, because they told him no, like, don't post those. Now, depending on how they said it, like if they were like, hey, don't post these, like you're in uniform, and then he like then made videos, which he has another one, but it's 9 minutes long, so I'm not gonna pull that one up. He made that one in civilian clothes.
Did they specifically tell him no, don't post those types of videos?
There was something in here. Let me go back and read. Where'd it go?
My biggest thing is I don't know how you charge someone without any sort of charges against them. Like, and maybe the military is different, but
military court of law is a little bit different than civilian court of law.
And I understand that it needs to be, or that there's justification in specific cases that might justify that. But I don't know how posting a video on YouTube can get you locked up in the Briggs. You're not disseminating, counterintelligence. You're not disseminating information that could be harmful to the U.S. government. Like, I don't understand where your justification comes from in
the military just kind of operates like when that kind of when like shit happens and you like violate the military code of justice, the uniform code of military justice, you kind of just go to the brig straight up until they decide what they did want to do with you. That's just what happens, because like they're not going to leave you just out and about doing your job or anything like that. You go to a place where you're going to be held until they figure out what they're going to do with you. That's just how that works.
I guess that makes a little bit of sense.
So yeah, I'm trying to figure out like where in here. I'm really trying to like breeze through this really fast to see, because I remember I read it. I just don't remember where.
Ham has another question for you, by the way.
Do you think justice to the civilians who died / justice to the silencing / justice to the fuck departure would be an increased number of other servicemen speaking out, or would they get silenced too in the same way? No, it's fine, Ham. Ask all the questions you want. We love it.
No, please. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for, Ham. Keep asking questions.
So because of all this, a lot of service members came out and like they made videos and stuff, and they asked the questions. They were like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, why did we do this? This all seems like it's for nothing. Like, yada yada yada." And to the second part of your question, would they get silenced too in the same way? Miller, the guy we mentioned earlier in the article, said here he said he added, but when you look at Lieutenant Colonel Scheller and other cases where you have someone was directly impacted or raised an issue with the command's conduct, they are automatically slapped with charges of deprived of their freedom behind closed doors where people can't see what's going on. So it's happened before. Top brass doesn't really like when people question what they do, especially people like in my position who's just like a lowly enlisted person, like at the bottom of the food chain. They don't like when you just ask questions and don't run it up your chain of command, because somewhere, along the chain of command, somebody's going to be like, shut up, don't ask these questions, just do your job. So if you circumvent all of that and just go straight up, they're going to get A, really pissed that you didn't follow your chain of command, and then B, also pissed because you're calling them out on something that may or may not be bullshit and something that you may or may not be privy to all the facts on.
Exactly.
And you've got to kind of wait around to see what the official statement is and that kind of stuff. It's all sorts of kind of like whack.
I can understand the shut up and do your job type of mentality within the military system. I really can, because again, you don't know all the facts, and a lot of times you don't need to know all the facts, and maybe all the facts would harm you if your situation was compromised with the enemy, right? So I understand that, but in a situation such as this, where he's just seemingly very frustrated with how the whole situation is being handled and how the situation plays on loop, enter the military industrial complex conversation. He even says at one point in time, the big corporations involved in these types of decisions. I feel, again, and this is a feeling based decision. This isn't a fact based decision, which I like to try to stay away from. But I could feel his frustration in this video. I could feel him saying, my brothers in arms and I have done our jobs, and we have gone out and done what has been asked of us, and we continue to find ourselves in this situation, and I don't know what else to do other than speak up and say this is not the way that it should be done. And I don't know what else to do. I'm compromising 17 years. I'm 3 years from retirement. I could keep my fucking mouth shut and go for another 3 years and receive my pension checks or my retirement checks, whatever they are, from the government, and I could be fine. But I'm willing to stick my neck out there and say, we have to change this. This cannot keep happening. And that's where my respect level for this guy comes in, to where that there's 100 at least other guys exactly like him in the military.
Yeah, one thing he said in the video is like other people have said that and asked the same questions. And I think part of the reason they're doing it with him is to try and deter the other people in the service across all of the DoD to not do videos like this. He's high profile. He's a lieutenant colonel. He's a battalion commander. Like, they're gonna try and use him as an example to be like, this is what happens when you fuck around and don't like.
Y'all better keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, so
keep your mouth shut and do what you're told.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's not wrong for asking for an explanation and an accountability from the top, and an explanation to everybody that like is in the military as to like why things went down the way they did, and why it, rather than just being like, hey, we value your service, you guys did great, if you're struggling with all this, seek counseling. Like, that's classic military bullshit. Like, hey, thanks, but like, go deal with this by yourself, we don't really give a shit for the most part. And then the military, and I'm going to turn it into this, and then the military wonders why the fuck people like veterans and active duty service members are killing themselves at rapid rates. It's because they don't feel like the people in charge of them give a shit.
And it segues back to the same old dead horse that I've beaten 100 times. It's the exact reason why people are anti-vax, why any portion of population that feels like the people that are in charge of them do not have their true best interests at heart. They have other interests that are more important than what they're being fed. This is what happens. It's any type of situation, basically across all of the hot button topics right now, all stem from they don't believe that leadership, government, what have you, don't have their best interests at heart.
A giant mistrust of the government, that the government bred itself over years and years and years. And people are finally like, I don't really trust you, dog, because you don't have a good track record of really looking out for us. You kind of have just fucked us and thrown us to the meat grinder over and over and over again, and said, this is the way of the world. You'll get over it, or you'll adapt. And it's like, no.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's all sorts of fucked, and I hope that when this trial, like, well, I'll keep an eye on it. When this, he finally goes to trial and everything, I want to see what happens. I really hope that he hasn't done anything in my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes to warrant a dishonorable discharge. So a dishonorable discharge equates basically to a felony. If you get dishonorably discharged from the military, you're kind of fucked for the rest of your life. Like they're gonna look at that and go, "Oh, you got dishonorably discharged. You did something heinous, bro. We're not hiring you for anything like that." So what he's done does not equate to that. Um, if they do discharge him, it should be under an other than honorable discharge, which means you didn't do anything bad, you didn't do anything like wrong. It's just you fell below the standard in the military's eyes for an honorable discharge, but you're not going to have any like adverse or negative consequences from it. You got discharged. It was other than honorable. Um, yeah, it's what I would really hope to see is they don't discharge him. They freaking take a look at themselves and go, okay. Or if they do, they give him whatever the penalty is. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll just have to look at it. But give him whatever the penalty is for posting a video in uniform that could be construed as gospel of the Marine Corps. So I'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. But in my eyes, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's just asking for accountability and for the top, for the people at the top to be like, this is why things happened the way they happened. And I think but it is super, super sketchy that they immediately just said, "Shut the fuck up and get in the brig."
I don't understand it. And again, I don't necessarily understand military law, but for the fourth time, say I don't understand how you can lock somebody up and just say over a video, over a video and say, well, we're going to figure out if we want to charge you with something. If it would have gotten 50 views instead of 500,000 views or whatever it would have gotten, he would still be out there just like he was before he posted that video.
Yeah.
But because it got the attention that it did, now he's going to get thrown in the brigs without any sort of clarification as to why he's there.
Yeah. And the other thing that's kind of like whack on this is he attempted to resign his commission. He attempted to be like, all right, you don't like it. That's fine. I'll step down. I'll resign. I'll retire now. And we won't have to deal with any of this. And they were like, nope. How about you get arrested instead?
How about you go to the brigs?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so that's that right now. But we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. Maybe there'll be some updates next week on it.
I would love to speak on it more, but I want to know if Chad has any questions for us.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple things like Squid Game that are way less serious.
Don't talk about it. I haven't started it yet.
I'm not tired of talking about serious shit because I'll talk about serious shit all day long. That's why I sit and do this podcast. But there's a couple of more lighthearted topics that I wouldn't mind talking about, i.e. Squid Game. I just watched the last episode last night, dude.
I'll take my headphones off if you guys start talking about Squid Game because I need to start it. I got to start it.
It's good, dude. It's good.
That's what I've heard. Ham, no problem. We will ask. We will answer whatever questions we can to the best of our ability.
The fuck is Squid Game?
It's a new show on Netflix.
Squid Game is the best fucking show on Netflix right now. I watched the entire series. I'm not a binger. I'm not like the binge type. I like to stag it out because I'm one of those weird person that likes to watch people like shows live. So I can't watch it until the next week. And Squid Game, I like specifically limited myself to like 2 episodes a night. So I didn't just sit there and watch it all and it all blurs together. But I finished it in a week. It is a fucking phenomenal show. I love it.
Abby, what are you confused about? Like exactly, like just like the whole thing with Lieutenant Colonel Scheller and why he's in the brig. Everybody's confused about that, really. But
yeah, and we can still go back to talk about the serious topics if you want us to. Yeah.
Basically,
but go watch Squid Game.
Also want to get into Squid Game, but I've seen too many spoilers on TikTok. I thank God I scroll past those. I'm not on that side of TikTok. Basically, what happened is he put out a video asking, and uh, in uniform, asking the top officials across the military and specifically the Marine Corps to be accountable and put their hand up and be like, yeah, we fucked up this Afghanistan thing. And they didn't like that he did that, and
They threw him in jail.
yeah, so that's the thing. Like so for everybody on the outside looking in, he didn't say anything wrong, but the top officials were like, why are you questioning our decisions, and why did you do it while you were in uniform on a video and post it like wherever he posted it, Twitter or YouTube or whatever. And that's what they're like. They're pissed about both of those things, so they just said we're going to arrest you and we'll figure out what we're going to charge you with later. That's pretty much the TLDR.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, no worries.
It's like not obeying an order.
Yeah, they basically charging him with conduct unbecoming of an officer and a gentleman, failure to or disobeying an order of a superior officer, and a couple other things. So, yeah, he that like I said, the only thing that I would see that he did wrong was post that video while he was in uniform. But if he, but I think he did it for emphasis.
Yeah.
And to get his point across a little bit more. Like, look, I'm a lieutenant colonel. I'm decently like high ranked, and I still have questions, and I'm confused as to why this shit is happening.
And it happens over and over and over and over again. And if we don't change it, it's going to continue to happen over and over. That was the crux of his message, was something has to change, or else we're going to keep repeating this behavior over and over and over again.
And we're just going to have to accept whatever they say at the end of the day is like, okay.
Exactly. So at some point in time, we're going to have to stop drone striking innocent civilians because we're creating more terrorists across the world from us. So can someone give us some sort of clarity as to why this continues to happen?
Yeah.
And no one's giving us any clarity.
No. And the best you're going to get on that drone strike thing is they're going to be like, oh, I guess Intel was kind of fucked.
And they're going to be like, we missed our mark.
Guess we missed our mark, or we had bad intel. Meanwhile, the Intel office is sitting over there like, what the fuck, bro? Like normally, or like whatever. It's a whole lot of cogs and pieces that all go into that I am not even privy to, and I have just a basic understanding of. But yeah, it's whack. But anyway,
light's way too bright.
So yeah. But yep, if y'all don't have anything else for us, we're about at our mark, our normal hour and a half mark. So we'll wrap it up here in a second if you guys don't have anything else for us.
So many other good topics from this week, though.
As much as I would love to sit here and have a 4-hour podcast,
I know.
I need to ingest food into my body.
Oh, I already.
And prepare for another week of work.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't even get a weekend.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah, same. But anyways,
manual labor out there.
So, yep, if you guys don't have anything else for us, we're going to call it. We'll call it for this week. Same thing as every week. I hope you guys all have a super great week. I hope you guys have a great week at work. Do good things, be good to people, be kind to people. Last week's episode is up on YouTube. I put it out in the tweet announcing when we were going live. If you guys want to go watch that, do the YouTube thing and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends and family, and Feel Good Band. Their full album is fully recorded. It's fully recorded. There'll be a release date soon. There'll be an announcement soon. Very exciting. Just the final mixing and mastering. So, Feel Good Band. Go buy some merch. You can find them on I believe shirt. Instagram and Twitter are both at Feel Good Band and Facebook. I'm pretty sure. Yep, and TikTok. They're on TikTok as well. And TikTok, yes. But yeah, with that, we'll say goodbye for the week, you guys, and we thank you again for hanging out and sticking with us through our little technical issue. And we will see you guys next week. Love you all. All right. Bye.
Tell somebody you love them, all right?